Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. We have just another outstanding guest for you today. Her name is Bunny Ambrosia. She is a life coach as well as an author. She's also a truck driver, and I cannot do her story justice, so I'm not even going to try. She has had some wild experiences in her life, and she's more than willing to share and talk about those things. And she does such a good job when she does. We're not going to ruin it by trying to cover it ahead of time. So let's just bring her onto the channel now. So, Bunny, thank you so much for joining us on Salty Ginger Talk tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we had a great conversation a couple weeks ago, and I've really been looking forward to bringing you on because, like we talked about when we first met, our podcast is about people taking control of their lives and living a purposeful life, getting rid of excuses and accepting responsibility for their situation. And sometimes that sucks, right? Sometimes your situation just sucks, and some of that's out of your control. But how you react to it is not out of your control. And I think you are the perfect person to tell your story to really illustrate the point that, hey, you can have a lot of things go wrong and a lot of things stacked against you, and you don't have to accept it and you don't have to continue down that path. You can impact your own life by taking action and working your way through challenges. And so I've been super excited to have you on to tell your story, which is what we're about to do. So what we normally do to start the podcast is just have our guests talk at a high level about their life. And you can start wherever you want. If important things happened to you when you were a kid, start when you were a kid. If the important things that made you who you are started happening to you when you were an adult, start there. It doesn't matter to us. It's your show. But then we'll go back and we'll have much
Okay.
deeper and much more pointed conversations around some of the things that happened in your life and what brought you to where you are, which is super interesting for what it's worth. Before I turn it over to Bunny, so she's got a coaching business. She's been in trucking for a long time, and she's just a super interesting lady, and really excited for you to hear her story. So it's time for me to shut up and turn it over to you. So, Bunny, the floor is yours. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited as well. Let's see where to start. I think really it started back in the beginning. um, my when I was real little, my dad traveled for his job, and we went everywhere. I've lived in every state, and Mexico and Hawaii, and Canada. Every state but Hawaii, Mexico, and Canada. There, I can get it out correctly. Um, it's hard to drive to Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't go there, but I loved that life. And my first trauma that I can remember was when it was time for me to start school. They thought that I should like be in one spot and do that. And I was miserable, absolutely miserable. I started skipping school in third grade. It was terrible. I was really bullied. Um, I grew up a little bit, found, I don't know if I found drugs or they found me, but I got into that, got into some pretty aggressive relationships. Um, I was sexually abused by grown men. Um, I was kind of raised for that, actually. I I raised mostly raised in the South, and there was a lot of pressure on me to marry well and marry young. And I got married at 16 and did what I was told a little bit. Um, and I that that marriage was really rough. And he actually passed away while I was in labor. So that was another big trauma. Um, and then everything kind of fell apart after that. I was a 17-year-old single mother and I didn't plan on that. And he died in the car. So I had no way to get around. I had no job. I had no income. I had no help. Um, I ended up in a tent with an infant in Branson, Missouri, which is not fun. I don't recommend that at all.
Mm.
Um, but that experience kind of catapulted me into, so I knew like the one thing in the world that I can't ever get a do-over for was raising my daughter.
Mm.
I'm like, I cannot fuck this up. Right? Like she is too important. So that drive to give her a better life and to do better by her got me here. And it took a lot of steps, a lot of failure, a lot of doing better tomorrow every day. And I made it. We made it. She's doing great too, by the way. 22 on her own, being amazing. Thinks she gets to be an adult.
I love that. Let me just start off by saying I really appreciate your willingness to talk about some pretty tough subjects. I think it's so valuable for our audience because there's folks out there who are experiencing similar things to what you're talking about. And it makes people understand that they're not alone when they're experiencing those things, that other people have been through those and have made it through. Not easy, not fun, not cool, but really appreciate your willingness to be so open and honest about it and provide your perspective and your experiences. So I thank you for that up front.
Of course. Of course.
Let's start in school. You said you were bullied pretty aggressively. What was that about?
Yeah. So I grew up at this really weird intersection of so many things. Because my mom was upper middle class. My dad was, uh, a hick from the sticks. And um, both families were very different. And when my parents divorced, which was shortly after I started school, because that wasn't a good situation for any of us, um, I wasn't old enough to put in my opinion, but I would have. um, when they got divorced, we lived with my mom's parents, but I was very much my father's daughter. And I, um, I had traveled, I knew places, I am fairly intelligent, I like to think. I was very bored and I couldn't relate to anybody and everybody. Like I felt like in certain instances, like I was the poor kid and they were being mean to me because I didn't have the same things that they had. And then for part of it, I was outcast because I was the rich kid because we lived with my grandparents in their upper middle class neighborhood and went to that school. And all my friends from my old school where I wasn't just the only poor kid, they weren't around to play with anymore and they wouldn't talk to me anymore after I moved as well. Like once the schools came together, it was a very strange kind of intersection of different lifestyles, I guess. And I didn't really fit in anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking while you were describing it. So you were a bit of a feathered fish. So you're in
Yes,
one group and you're different because of X, but you're in a different group and you're different because of Y. And that's really difficult for a lot of us to understand when we're young. It's funny, isn't it? Because we spend so long when we're young trying to fit in, and then we all grow up to be adults and we want to be unique and different and stand out. And
right.
at some point in our life, that desire changes. I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to do something different and stand out. But as a kid, for a lot of us, that's really challenging. I
It is.
from my I'm a weirdo and I've always been kind of a weirdo. I'm way out here on the bell curve statistically because I've always known kind of who I was and how I was. And I got pretty comfortable with that pretty quick. I knew, don't get me wrong. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be popular. I liked the girls liked me. Like I wanted, I liked girls. I wanted them to like me. But I wasn't going to change who I was to make that happen. Now I was fortunate that, the things I was good at, I was a really good athlete and I was good in school. And so in our society as a male, those things carry a very high social currency. And so it's probably easier for me than a lot of people to say it's true what I just said, but it was probably easier for me to be that way because of the things I was good at and the way that was accepted by the people around me. And what you just described is the exact opposite. And so I think there's a lot more people that can empathize and understand your situation than mine. And that just makes you uniquely positioned to talk about these things. And we'll get to your coaching business as we work our way through this, but I think it makes you uniquely positioned to be a life coach. And we'll talk about your book as well, because there's great stuff in your book as well. But so were you aware that you were kind of like an outcast? Like, did you feel that way when you were a kid?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. I started skipping school in third grade. I
Yeah.
skipped 24 days. I found that out because my mom kept the report cards, and I missed 24 days in third grade, and nobody called my mom to be like, "Hey, where's she at?"
So in third grade, what are you, 8? You're 8 or 9, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was little.
What'd you do? Well,
There
like,
was-
how'd you skip school? What were you doing when you weren't at school?
I know, right? There was a big like cow field next door to the school, and we had to walk to school. So I would walk my little brother to the school, drop him off, and then walk across the field, like, or the yard of the school, crawl under the fence, hang out in the cow field all day, and pet cows and chase rabbits and sit under there was this really cool tree, or that if I got hungry, there was mulberries. There was this big mulberry, like, couple of trees that were close by. I'd go pick them, and I don't know. I just hung out until I heard the school bell ring, and then I would come back, get my brother, walk home again.
That's wild.
I
And nobody
agree.
called your parents, huh?
Nobody. Yeah,
That's
I don't know.
that's craziness. That's craziness. So you had talked about drugs, and
Yep.
do you remember how old you were when you first experienced drugs or started getting exposed to drugs?
Yeah. Let's see. I started like smoking cigarettes at like 11, and I would sneak beers or my aunt's champagne. Um, that's a hard thing to sneak. I don't recommend that one. Um, and and so like 11, 12 for that. And then because I didn't fit in anywhere, when I gotten a little bit older, I had figured out how to, excuse me, fit into certain social settings. And so like at school, because I had all A's, then I was a nerd at school. But because I like to do things that could get me in trouble, I hung out with the bad kids after school, right? And um, come to find out, the good kids were doing worse than the bad kids were. But you know, there's that. But I had a lot of friends that like smoked weed and had Old English 40s and Mad Dog 2020, and like we just were doing a lot of that. But I never really liked how weed made me feel, but I liked hanging out with them,
Mm,
especially when they were high, because then they thought I was funny, and that was good. Um, but then I decided, because they had told me like what different drugs felt different ways, and like what was the outcome from doing certain drugs, like, mushrooms or acid, and you have hallucinations, or pills and being like numb and whatever. And then they told me about meth and how you don't have to sleep, and I was like, that's the one. That's the one,
mm.
because I hate sleeping. um I think that's probably trauma related, but maybe, I mean, I don't know. My mom said I haven't liked to sleep ever since I was little either. So maybe it's a combination, but I have too much to do. No sleep. And they gave me something that I could do. No sleep. It was great. It was terrible. Don't do meth for the record. But
That's
that was my
the
thought
PSA,
process.
right?
Yeah. That was the thought process of how I got there. And then
Yeah. Why do
um
you hate
I
sleeping? Just out of curiosity. What do you hate about sleeping?
um I just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't out to get you,
Mm,
you know? Like I've
true.
had I don't know. For one, I never stop thinking. Like my brain never shuts up. And I have to like, I gotta look, I gotta remember the thing, or I didn't do that. I have to get up and do this. And there's so much to get done. But then also if I'm in a house with anyone that I don't like trust with my life, I can't sleep because what if they kill me? They
Mm,
might. I don't know. Probably not. Probably. I don't know. I and I was attacked a few times when I was asleep in bad relationships. So that didn't help anything.
gotcha. How long so you started smoking at 11 and then you transitioned into the other stuff. At what point in your life did you say, "Hey, this isn't a path I want to keep going down"? Like were you an adult? Were you a teenager? When did you stop?
No, no, I was still a teenager. So from like 12, 13, I think I was almost 13 the first time I did meth. And I quit when I was 16. Um, it was bad. I was dating the best friend of a guy who was cooking it, and he wanted to date me as well, but I did not want to date him. And so he would give me free meth to like try to earn a place in my heart or whatever.
Mm,
And I I knew what he was doing, but I still took the free meth. I'm like, hey, if I don't have to pay for it, I'm gonna take it, you know? And I got really bad. I got down to I'm 5'9", right? And I was like pretty close to full height by then. Um, and I got down to 87 pounds,
oh, good
which
Lord.
yeah, it's not good. And I, because of the like probably not just because of the time that I grew up in, but there was um, a lot of pressure on young women to be very thin in that time frame. So I was 87 pounds and still thought that I was fat. You know, uh, I was not, right? But it was after I had gotten married the first time, and he didn't know. He didn't like meth. He told me when we started dating that he didn't like that. He was like, he just hallucinogens and weed. That was all he wanted. And I'm like, cool. So I'm not telling you anything. But he'd also never been around anybody. So it was fairly easy to hide it from him. I would like set timers, like go pretend to go to sleep with him and then get up and set a timer to get back in bed with him when I was high for before he would get up, you know. But the day that I went in and got on the scale and it said 87 pounds, I confessed. I took him what I had left and I told him, I was like, listen, I don't want to tell you this, but I'm going to die. So I don't want to do that more. So here's my stash. And I need to not go see these people because I have to stop this. And he was receptive. It was possibly one of very few things that he did that was good for me. But he did support me through that and help me get clean, and I do appreciate him for that.
Wow. That's amazing. That usually the what you just described is very different than the way a lot of other people describe it. Let's say that. The fact that
Yeah,
you recognized on your own, hey, this is gonna kill me and I gotta quit. And then you got help. It doesn't sound like
yeah,
from I get it was your husband, but it doesn't sound like there's a lot of There's a lot of things about him that were lacking, but on that part, he got it right. It sounded like.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, this is a wild time. It's funny to me now because I was so afraid to die then because I wanted to die when I was 21.
Oh,
I was like, this is my life. I'm gonna do all of these amazingly fun, crazy, wild things, and I will die at 21, so I cannot die now.
I need the extra
Spoiler
5 years.
alert. Yeah, yeah. Spoiler alert. I didn't die at 21.
Well, we're glad. We're glad that you're still here.
Me too. Me too
Yeah.
now, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So you had that whole experience, and then you had talked about being in some really rough relationships. What do you think? Well, talk us through like how that wound up taking place. You also said, I'm curious because you said you were kind of raised that way or raised
No.
for it. Not only for like maybe I misunderstood you. I don't think I did. I don't think you were talking about just being married off. I think what you were saying is you were raised to kind of attract and or participate in those types of relationships. And I'm curious what you meant by that.
Yes, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. My mom's mother, well, my mom's parents were very like well-to-do, old money kind of Southern people.
Hmm.
And her mother, especially, um, she was the town's home ec and English teacher, and she knew everybody, and she had was very good at appearances. Um, and she was the one that really like beat into me how I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to look for, um, because I I was just a girl. Like I'm not going to amount to anything. Just a female, firstborn female. Oh, how terrible. Uh, so she would like tell me. She also hated me, to be fair, because I was my father's daughter. So
Ah,
my brother was my mother's son, but I look just like my dad, and um, no beard, but uh, not yet anyway. And my brother looked a lot like my mom and behaved, I guess, and was a boy. But I talked back and I had opinions, and so she was doing everything she could to get me out from under the house, out from under her roof, so that she didn't have to be responsible and I didn't ruin her reputation. She said that to me a lot. Um, but I don't know if you're familiar with a Southern debutante.
I was thinking it while you were talking. That's literally what I was thinking.
Yeah, yeah, I was on the end of that as they phased that out.
Mm.
Um, kind of have, kind of, mostly they have. But she put me in beauty pageants. I had to walk with books on my head. I had to learn how to cook the meals that she thought were good for men. And um, it was really weird too because she would never outright say that she wanted me to um, like learn anything sexually, but that I absolutely had to take care of my husband sexually.
Mm.
And um, I don't know. I guess you just magically do that when you get married. Um, but then also I used to hate her back. And the past few years I've really forgiven her and found good things that came from her in me. And so I don't want to badmouth her really,
Sure.
but it wasn't, I would have never raised a kid like that. Um, but yeah, she was all for getting me to be somebody else's problem. Oh, and I had to be sure that I could deal with him cheating, because men do that. But as long as he comes home, then I should be happy.
Wow. And this is your grandmother that's teaching you all
Yeah,
this, right?
yeah.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. So you've got
Agree.
that background. You've got that background. You've got all these kind of ideas planted in your head or being preached to you at home. How, I guess, walk us through how you wound up being married at 16.
Um, I was constantly looking for someone that would that would be willing, right? Because I too wanted out of her house. Like, that
Mm,
was something we had in common. Um, but also I knew that they had to be an adult, because children can't marry. Adults can marry children, but children can't marry. Um, so I went to a lot of like college house parties and keggers out in the woods with adult men, right? Trying to find
yeah.
somebody. And I I was blatantly honest about what I was looking for. People knew that I was too young to be there often. And if they didn't, I told them. Like, when people asked me how old I was, I would say I'm jailbait. Nice to meet you.
Hmm.
And that, as disturbing as that is, it was a really good indicator for who was a safe person for me to be around and who the predators were. Because the safe people were like, okay, bye,
Yeah.
you know, and the predators, which also happened to be my potential husbands, um, were like, oh, well, how are you tonight?
Yeah.
Would you like a drink? So um, I was doing that a lot. And then randomly, I was out with a girlfriend, and we were getting ready to go to a kegger that evening. And we ran into someone that she knew and his friend. And his friend was my then future husband.
Mm,
And the two of them like conspired against the two of us to get us together. And he was, his name was Brandon, and he was also fairly outcast feeling. I think we did connect on several levels. Um, but he was also like really quick to make decisions. And so that that was like something that I was looking for, right? And the morning after we met, he called me. He's like, "Hey, do you want to move in?" So I did. I was It's like, "Yeah, actually, I do." So like at 8:30 in the morning, I was packing. Um,
so this is less than 24 hours after you've met, right?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And then a couple months later, he got tipped off that he was about to be arrested for me. And so he came home from work and he's like, "Hey, ask your mom to meet us at the courthouse." And I was like, "Okay, why?" He's like, "Because we're getting married." I was like, "Oh, how romantic." Yeah, yeah. But she had to sign me over, right? Like, I needed permission to marry him. So,
Yeah. Let's get
and
married so I
then,
stay out of jail.
yep, yep.
Oh my
Good
goodness.
times.
Yeah, you had an eventful first 16 years, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. It didn't stop there though.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so next you're married, and
Yep,
I know this winds up with him dying in an automobile. Uh,
yep.
but you were pregnant at that time. So was that intentional? Was it just
It
walk us
was
through?
intentional. It was
Yeah.
intentional. We got married in January. Uh, I got a one of those like 12-month calendars that you hang on a wall. And we went through and I was like, okay, I want to start trying to get pregnant here. And he was like, cool. Do you want to do it sooner? No, because people are going to say that we only got married because we were pregnant. And I'm not doing
Mm.
that. Right. Because I had morals. And, um, so we decided to start trying in March. We were pregnant in April. And that I was over the moon. I was so excited. And he was something.
So I know you said this wasn't a great. There were aspects. Let me say it this way: there were aspects of that relationship that were not great. Was there abuse?
Um, there was one instance that was physical, but mostly it was emotional abuse. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. He was very good at just cutting me to bits verbally. But like I had been told, that's what men do.
Mm. So you didn't. I don't. I'm trying to think of the right way to ask that question. I guess how did you respond, or how did you react when those instances happened? Leave the physical part out, but the verbal and emotional, mental stuff.
It would depend on my mood, really. I was pretty feisty. I had been in a pretty physically abusive relationship before him. And in that one, like, I would fight back. Like, you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. Right.
Mm.
And so when I was with him, since it was mostly verbal, that I didn't, at that time in my life, I didn't understand that that was also abuse. I was like, you're just a dick. Like, don't be a dick to me because I can do it back. Like, I don't get even, I escalate. Right. And so I would talk back most of the time,
Mm.
which didn't help anything. Um, but then sometimes it wasn't worth it. Like especially when I was pregnant, I was tired. I was like, whatever. Go sleep with my friend, please. Or whatever whore you have at work, or like because he was cheating on me the whole time. I'm like, leave me alone. Go. Get out. Like, I'm gonna take a nap.
And you knew he was being unfaithful.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He 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 didn't try to hide much, but even if he had, he wasn't that slick.
He wasn't good at. I'm the worst liar on the face of the earth. I'm terrible. I have to tell the truth because I'm so bad at lying.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't want to have to remember what I told this person and that person, and tell the
Yeah.
truth. You just tell the truth. It's like it's it's an easy way to go for me. But
Yeah.
you so you're in labor, and I'm assuming this is a car accident that he passed away in.
He passed away and then he had a car accident.
Uh,
Uh, um, yes, I was in labor for a very long time. I was having complications. We lived in a little town. My doctor uh, was out of town and he had told me, like, I'm going to be out of town for this week. And I'm like, cool, that's when I'm going to have her. And he was like, I can induce you. And I'm like, no, I'm doing this naturally.
mm,
He's like, well, then I'll be back if you can hold her until then. I'm like, great, thanks. And he had told me, just in case, he'd already talked to another male, because there were only 3 doctors that could deliver babies in that area. He had
mm,
talked to the other guy because he knew under no circumstances was I going to go back to the woman doctor. She has since passed, so I won't uh, say too much about her, but I would never, never go back to her. I had gone to her when I had my first that was stillborn, and it was not a good experience. So, and he knew that. So he talked to the other guy, um, and he was ready to take over in case I went into labor while my doctor was gone, which I did, obviously.
Mm.
And that the like early in the morning, the night before I went into, or the darkness before the day that I went into labor, his daughter was in a pretty bad wreck. She had just slid on some ice. And so he was unavailable because he was tending to her. She's fine. Or she was then. I don't know about now, but um, so he wasn't available to see me. So that left this woman. And she came in and she's like, I'm just gonna examine you and see where we're at. And I threw the bedpan that was laying on the table next to the bed at her. And I told her if she touched me, I would kill her. And she said, okay. And she turned around, she walked out. About 30 minutes later, a little nurse came in and she goes, well, we're going to send you to a different hospital. I was like, cool, great. That's a good idea. Um, yeah, so I sent Brandon home to get some stuff because the hospital that we were going to was almost 2 hours away. And I expected him to stay with me. So I'm like, go get clothes and stuff because you're not going to be able to run back and forth to the house. And on his way back to the hospital from the house, he had a heart attack while driving
Wow.
and totaled the car.
How old was he when that happened?
21.
Man.
He had a familial condition. His uncle had actually also passed that way when he was 21. I don't think there was anyone in labor that time, but yeah. And they didn't want to tell me because they're like, she's in labor. And I get it from their perspective, but it really made things worse for me. I had to wait for him to get brought back to the morgue before because they only had one ambulance operating right then. And then they took me to the other hospital. And I had an amazing nurse. Oh my God. She was so good. She worked a double shift for me because it was almost the end of her shift. And they told her what had happened. And she was like, well, I'm not leaving this girl, this little child having a baby. I'm not leaving her. And she stayed with me the whole time. She was amazing.
Wow.
And she knew, she didn't tell me because they asked her not to tell me. And eventually, I don't know, I was like 20 minutes from pushing. I told her that whenever he shows up, don't let him in. He's not welcome. And can you get me a phone book because I want to look up divorce lawyers? And she brought me the phone book, but she told me later that she was like tore up that she couldn't tell me. And she had even asked the charge nurse, like they went back and forth about it, whether to tell me anyway or not. And the charge nurse ultimately decided not to. But that was wild. So I have my daughter. She's amazing. The biggest head you have ever seen. I tell her that the head that she has now is the one that she showed up with. Giant. But I was so blessed. It was such an amazing experience giving birth to her, even like with everything that was going on, like when it came down to like the the like important part. It was beautiful.
Mm.
So I was so like connected with my body, and I felt connected to her, and it just like everything went like it was supposed to. Uh, and then they gave her to me, and I breastfed, and so she latched on perfect. Everything was great. I had a good 2 hours, just me and her. And then I told them they could let family in, and that's when they told me.
Wow. What do you remember what your first reaction was when they told you?
Yeah, yeah. So my mom is blind, and my best friend was helping her into the room. And then my grandmother, my dad's mom, came in and she started rubbing my feet. So I instantly knew that something was wrong
Mm.
because she does that. And then I looked at my dad and he had been crying, and I'm like, cool. Anybody want to tell me what's going on?
Yeah.
And so dad told me. And I was like, well, that explains it. Like, thanks. Like, now I know what I need to do. Right? Like, I can focus. I felt I was not happy that he died, right?
Right.
But I had so much relief in knowing that's why he wasn't there. And then I felt like I could do something because like I had to plan a funeral. I have a baby, gotta take care of the baby, plan a funeral. I have things to do, and that could keep me from spiraling.
Man, that is just an insane situation.
Yeah.
So you planned the funeral?
His mother and I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It was, it was
So,
wild.
yeah, that is. So after the funeral,
Mhm.
you uh so he's laid to rest. You and your daughter are there. At what point did you go, well shit, I don't have anything. I got to figure out what to do here. When did that hit?
Um, about 30 seconds later,
After they told you or after the
uh,
funeral?
no, after the funeral, because I was
Yeah.
like, okay, we're done here. Now what? Um, I found out very quickly that you can inherit debt even if you're 17, but you cannot own property. So I lost the house. Um, my dad blessedly bought me a car um, a couple months later. It was big enough to live in. It was a Crown Vic. Uh, and I used to tease him because I was like, he got my brother this goofy truck with a camper shell, and my brother was kind of silly. Uh, and so I would tease him that he got Bob something that's like keep your friends close, and then he got me something that's keep your enemies closer, because I was in and out of trouble with the law, and he got me a retired cop car. So yeah, um, and that was good. I I didn't leave the house until they made me.
Yeah.
Um, so we were there for a few months, um, and I tried to work. It was hard with an infant. I tried to go to school, also hard with an infant. I had one of my professors, I don't remember their name, but it was Principles of Macroeconomics. Um, and it was from 8 to 10 p.m. one night a week or something like that. And he was almost as exciting as Ben Stein. So it was very difficult to stay awake for his class, but he would let me bring my daughter. So that was nice. It's like I actually got an A in his class because of that. And I did that one semester. And then um, after that semester, that's when everything kind of finally just started unraveling, and lost the house. My mom and my brother had been living with us uh, while I was pregnant, and they moved back in with her parents. I obviously was not welcome at that house. And then I didn't have a great relationship with my dad's parents, and my dad was working everywhere. And I couldn't really be with him anywhere. Um, so we were in my car a lot, and then the car died. Uh, and so I had my brother drive us to Branson. I bought a tent and set up shop behind the Remington Theater on the strip. And it was me and my baby in a tent. Awesome.
Why Branson? What made you go to Branson to do that?
I knew I could get a job.
Mm.
Because at that time, it was very popular. Like there was a lot of tourists would come during the peak season. And I knew I could get a job. I had housekeeping experience already. And so I was like, I can work, I get a strapper to me and clean.
So you took your daughter to work and worked with your daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. Tied her to
Man,
me.
so let me just say, our podcast, we preach a lot about taking action and accepting your circumstances and not making excuses. If you need an example, I've got one for you right here. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of really negative things have happened. You're still what? You're 17 at this point, right? Maybe you turned
Um,
18. I don't know.
I think I was 18 by then. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
whatever. You're 18 years old. You're a widow. You've got a daughter. You're homeless, living in a tent behind a movie theater, and
Yep.
you're still trying to take control of your circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't an option. Like it was do this or fail her.
Right. And yeah, and you talked about that earlier that hey, you recognize very quickly this is something I've got to get right. Like if I fuck this up,
Yeah.
like this is the worst thing I could fuck up. I can't fuck this up. I've got to get this right.
Exactly. Exactly. So she and I, we still have a very close relationship. We basically grew up together,
Mm,
and um, we're super close, and I love that. But we had a talk one time. She came to me and she's like, Mom, I've I've been thinking about it, and I don't want to hurt your feelings. And I'm like, lay it on me, sister. And she said, when I have kids, I'm not gonna raise them like you did me. And I said, good. And she was like taken aback. And uh, she's like, what? I'm like, good. They're not you. Like they're your kids. You have to raise them for the world that you bring them into. And you're gonna do a better job than me because you're gonna have support. Period. Like, and she goes, okay. Well, I was gonna say something nice too. I'm like, okay, sorry. And she goes, I'm not going to raise them the same way you did on everything, but there's a few things that I absolutely am going to do like you did. And I was like, I'm sorry. Thank you. That was awesome. So, so I didn't mess up too bad.
no, that's great. And so, I mean, there had to be points in this where you were like, this sucks. I'm like, this is hopeless. How am I going to get out of this? Did you have those kind of
Yeah,
thoughts when this was going on?
I did. I did. Um, when it started to get cold, I knew I couldn't keep her in the tent with me. Um, so for a few months, I asked my mom to take her, which broke. But I'm like, I I cannot have a baby sleep in a tent in the snow, you know?
Yeah, right.
Um, and that gave me more time, and I could get a few like different kinds of jobs because I could work more things that, wouldn't maybe let me bring her. Certain jobs wouldn't. So I was able to save some more money. And then when it came tax time, I always filed the day that they let you. Like I turn it in that day. So I got my return back fairly quickly, and like for a brief moment, like everything started falling into place. And I was like, cool, like don't get too excited, but like things are going right. As my great aunt and uncle had inherited a station wagon, but they were on disability, so they could only have so much assets. So they gifted me that car. So I had another car, and I found one of those monthly hotels that would take me, and they had a 2-bedroom that was going to be available in a couple months. So I got the like regular hotel room for then. And then as soon as that one was open, I got that, and I had a job that was like paid minimum wage and tips in Branson. And like I was cute and I can talk, right? So I made good.
You're gonna maximize those tips, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so I was making like minimum wage where most servers were only making 215, So I was like actually getting a paycheck plus tips. So I could afford rent. I got Lolly back. I put her in a learning center daycare. I was just working during the day. Like things were going okay until they weren't again. The car died. And an ex stole a bunch of my stuff. Things started unraveling again. At this time, my dad was working in Kansas, Osawatomie, Kansas, and it was he was the foreman on this lineup, so he told me to come with him. As I often worked with my dad growing up, so I knew the ropes, and obviously Lolly was his favorite person in the world, so he's like, bring her, you know. Got a work tent and a fan and a playpen sitting out on the side of the road working because he installed phone lines. So I did that for a while to get back on my feet, and then Katrina happened. We went because Dad followed the money with work.
Sure, yeah.
And so Katrina happened. He went down there. He wouldn't let me come with him immediately because it was too dangerous, he said, which it was. He had 2 people on his crew that got shot while he was down there.
Yikes.
But after a few months, he sent for me, and I went down there and helped reinstall the phone lines in New Orleans, and we made some good money there. And then I found myself pregnant again. And I don't often share this, but I adopted out this child, and most people, I tell them that I had 2 boys for some friends of mine, which is true, but people often look down on people that adopt out children. So I let them think, because they'll be like surrogacy, yeah, I like that, yeah, sure, why not, but I know them, I know the parents, like I'm so grateful for that relationship. But they lived in California, so they wanted me to be out there for the end of the pregnancy and to deliver. So Lolly and I moved to California, and that was wonderful.
Not a lot of snow in California.
No, no, it's beautiful. And then, uh, like that was great, but when it was over, I couldn't afford to stay out there at the time, so I went back to Missouri. Uh, and then things started going good again, and my brother died.
Mm.
It's like every there's just like can't get ahead for getting behind, you know. So it's like every step something happens, but I could never quit, you know. I just can't stop. Like, yeah, this sucks, but I got shit to do.
Yeah, like you that's for what it's worth, that's exactly the right way to think about it. Bad things are going to happen in everyone's life. It feels like you've had your share
Yeah,
and somebody else's
yeah.
share of bad
My
things.
my friend Christopher jokes that uh I when I came to this life, I chose hard. I wanted the hard difficulty.
Yeah, put me on hard mode. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, did you and if you don't want to talk about this, we don't have to, but were you able to select the family that adopted your son, or how did that work?
Yes, yes. It ended up being two, not twins, but uh, it was so good the first time. We tried for surrogacy for another child for them,
Ah, okay.
um,
Yep.
and then that just never took. And the month after, I had a birth control failure, and that the other participant wasn't interested in a baby. So I was like, hey, surprise. And so they were like, yes, we want the other one. But they're wonderful, just wonderful people. But I was able to like meet them and pick them. And there's not many people that deserve children more than they do.
That's great. I love that you did that. And I don't spend a lot of time on politics or things like that, but I did an episode last year on abortion statistics. And uh, I'm probably when I was younger, I was very pro-life and clearly before I had children. And now that I've had children, there's almost no circumstance under which I could uh, support an abortion. And I just think there's a lot of alternatives, and I really appreciate your approach to it. And look at the wonderful lives that you've touched by going through that process, even though it had to be gut wrenching and
Oh,
terribly
it
difficult
still is.
for you
It
personally.
still is.
Yeah,
And it's probably the hardest decision I ever made.
I don't know how it couldn't be. Yeah, I totally get that, but I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I appreciate you sharing it with
Yes,
our audience.
of course.
So what happened with your brother?
He also was merciful, whatever word. He was terribly bullied. He was um, a little weird and super gay in rural Arkansas, and he
Mm,
was bullied terribly. And it got the best of him, and he killed
gotcha,
himself.
gotcha. That's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I got this tattoo. It says suicide hurts, and then hashtag it gets better. And then the national hotline number that has since changed to 999 or 988, 988. Um, and then the Trevor Project hotline number, which is um, a suicide prevention hotline that is catered more toward LGBT youth.
Man, that's that's yet another really difficult experience. And I just don't, just me personally, I don't understand why people bully other people, and I don't care why. I don't know why they care who they're attracted to or who they want to spend their life with. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why is it any of your business? Why do you care? Like, live your
Exactly.
fucking life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry that your life sucks so bad. You're so concerned about mine, but maybe
Right?
do something about that.
Totally.
Just saying.
Oh my gosh. So after you deal with that whole terrible situation, um, you're back in Missouri, right? You're at Missouri, and it's still
Yes.
at this point, and
Mm-hmm.
I know you worked your way kind of through multiple different things. So kind of walk us through that progression. So you've gone already from living in a tent with your infant daughter and working housekeeping jobs with her strapped to you. And you've kind of progressed to the point now that you were working with your dad for a while and now you're back in Missouri. What do you have going on in your life professionally at this point?
Let's see. I was back in housekeeping, still taking Lolly with me. Um, I when my brother passed, my mom fell off the deep end, which was to be expected.
Sure.
Um, but I moved her in with me. She didn't want to come all the way to Springfield, which is where I had been living. So we met in Branson, got an apartment there. Um, ended up homeschooling my daughter because of Branson schools. Don't put your kids in Branson schools ever. Um, ever. Um, but yeah, we were down there for a year while mom kind of came back to life. And then she moved back to Arkansas and we went back to Springfield. Um, when I got back to Springfield, I started working in home health care. Um, I guess I did delivery first, did delivery for a little bit and then got into home health care. Um, and at first I was a CNA, which they need to be paid way more than they're paid.
Mm,
Um, like these are the people that care for the people that you love. You should be paying them more than minimum wage because that's a
mm.
hard job. And if you're not willing to do it, you should be willing to pay someone to do it. But that's my 2 cents. Um, but then I got kind of promoted, transferred to a different department, maybe. Um, the lifeline button, the help a fallen button.
Yep.
I then became the lifeline technician. And so the company that I worked for, we covered 53 counties in Missouri, and I installed and maintained the lifeline for roughly 1,600 patients in those 53 counties for about 4
Wow.
years. That was the longest I had ever worked anywhere. Now it's trucking, but that was that was really good. Um, it's still, I don't think, paid enough, but it paid better than anything else had. And I was able to get pretty stable with my daughter. She really likes stability. Um, I had watched another one of your podcasts. Uh, oh gosh, I forget his name. He was from Romania. Um, but
Oh,
he had,
Elias. Yeah. Elias.
um, no, I don't think that was it. So, Saban?
Oh, you know what? Elias still lives in Romania. You're thinking of Sherban.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, Sherban. Yeah.
Um,
Sherban's from Romania, but lives in the States now. Elias still lives in Romania. He did our podcast a while ago.
yeah, awesome. I haven't seen that one yet, but now I forgot why I was going to say this.
You were talking about your daughter liking stability.
Oh, yes, yes. And you had been talking to him about how kids need stability. And, and I don't think that he had kids, but he agreed with. Um, and I'm like, yeah, my kid did. I didn't. I don't thrive with stability. I need chaos. But she wanted stability. And so I was able to give that to her. fairly regularly at that point. We lived in the same apartment for more than just one lease. That was pretty cool for her. Um, but uh, she was getting older and more expensive
Yeah.
going to school because she had started going back to school. She got into a gifted program where she actually started high school when she was 10.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, that's insane. I did okay with kindergarten drop off, but dropping her off to the first day of high school when she was 10 and like 4'5" walking in next to the senior basketball player,
Sure. Yeah.
I was like twice her height. I lost it. Like, you cannot be serious right now. But uh, with that came a lot of opportunities. And for children, opportunities are often expensive. And one of them was she got selected to go to the Duke TIP summer camp, which was several $1,000s. And we got the scholarship, but it didn't cover all of it. Then I had to get her there and back. So there was a good few months during that time. And she didn't know this until she was an adult, but uh, I went. It's a good 4 months with only eating every other day. Like, I fed
Mm,
her every day. Don't get me wrong,
sure.
but I only ate every other day. Drank a lot of coffee, and then when it got closer to it, and I was like, "Oh, I don't think I have enough money," then I would skip 2 days of eating and eat on the third day for like a month and a half. But she went and she loved it. And that's one of her favorite memories from childhood. So
So totally worth it, right?
yes, 100%,
Hmm.
100%. I was done growing anyway. I didn't need it.
Totally. When our first son was born, we were super poor, my wife and I, and
Mhm.
he needed special formula because he was allergic to Infamil, whatever the regular Infamil was. Well, fuck,
Uh-huh.
it cost like 25 bucks a jar, and the other stuff was like 8 bucks a jar, you know? And we
Mhm.
didn't have the money. So there were a couple days before I would get paid again. We would be, back then, Whoppers were 99 cents. So my wife and I would split a Whopper. We'd take a buck and we'd cut it in half, and she'd eat half and I'd eat half. And
Yep,
that was food for the day for, 3, 4 days until I got paid again. So you do what you got to do to take care of your kids. Like it's
absolutely.
the way the world works, you know?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be half the person I am now if it wasn't for her. Like, she gave me so much purpose, and like 100%, I would be dead or in jail if it wasn't for her, or both.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I know it's true, but it's still funny.
It is. Yeah, yeah.
I absolutely believe you, but it's still funny. Um, but so you're in trucking now, and you referenced that in like some of the stuff you gave to us. You said that was like your calling. How did you wind up getting into
Oh
trucking?
man. Oh man. Okay. So we moved from Missouri to Minnesota, um, for me to be with my ex new my ex-husband, Brandon's late husband. This is the ex-husband. Um, he's the bad one.
Mm,
All of my relationships, this is the bad one. Um, he is very good at hiding it. But we moved up there, and we were there for like 3.5 years. Um, what I was with him, and it was torture for me, but she loved it. So I was like, get her through high school, get me, like, let me live through this. Cause this was a
mm.
very physical, abusive, like mental, physical, financially abusive. He was miserable. Um, but he's very good at hiding it, right? Like, everybody thought he was just the greatest thing. He is a veteran. He is a realtor. Everybody loved him. They're, they're sneaky. They're the people I was going to say men, but the people that are abusive that are like that are, I think, the worst
Yeah, I
because
mean,
it's so hard.
it can be women too, but like in large part, it's men,
It is. It is.
at
I
least
think that
physically.
they're
Yeah,
right. Yeah. I think they're maybe the most insidious because it's so hard to leave them. Like it's hard to leave any abusive relationship, but uh, them in particular because nobody believes that they're that bad.
sure.
So you don't have as much support or any. Um, but I finally got up the gumption to leave him, and he told me, and I don't think I've said this yet. I run fully on caffeine and spite. Um, and so he told me, "You can't leave me. You'll never make as much as I do." So I was like, "Deuces, I'm out, and I'm gonna." And I did. I I bought an RV because I didn't have enough money for because he had been financially abusive. Um, didn't have enough money to get an apartment up there, and I didn't have any. He wouldn't give me any renter history, so I didn't qualify for any of the apartments in Minneapolis either. Uh, so I bought an old RV. And Lolly and I lived in that for most of her senior year of high school, which was 2020. Poor
Mm.
kid. Um, but I was working at Starbucks, and um, like that was enough to get us through. And one night was like Tuesday at 3:40 in the morning, and I need to get up at 5 to go to work. But I'm doom scrolling YouTube, trying to, I don't know, find my golden goose egg. And I did. I came across it. This woman was talking about how she got into trucking and that um, she had received a grant from the state that she lived in, which was Utah. And I'm like, if Utah has a grant for women to get into trucking, Minnesota definitely does. So that morning on lunch, I started because when I was at Starbucks, lunch meant 8 a.m. Uh, so I started calling anywhere that I could think of, like Job Corps, Career Center, like all of them, like, hey, do you know, are there any grants like this? And Angela was in charge of it. And she said, I'd really like to help you. Um, but I'm about to close this grant. It'll be open again in 6 months. I was like, I don't have 6 months. And she goes, well, there's two women ahead of you. They're struggling to get their permit. I said, I can have the permit. I can have the permit this week. And she's like,
Mm.
well, listen, if you can get the permit by next Friday, and they still haven't got theirs, I'll put you in on this one. And so that was Wednesday. Thursday, after work, I had my permit. I called her. I said, hey, I got the permit. And she goes, I meant next Friday, right? I was like, I don't care. I meant today.
Permit's
And
done,
she's like,
baby.
yeah. And she's like, well, when can you come in? And let's do the paperwork for this and get you set up. I was like, right now. And she goes, no, I'm leaving work right now. It's okay. You're going to make it. She's like, how about tomorrow? And I got off at, I think, 1 that day. And so she's like, yeah, come in then. Did the paperwork. I went straight back to Starbucks and put in my 2 weeks. Um, it's one of the only 2 weeks notices that I've ever finished. So I was proud of myself for that. The only reason too is because my best friend at the time was the store manager and I didn't want to
Mm.
screw her over.
Yeah.
But then I so I quit so that I could do trucking full time, like trucking school. And they said that most people get through trucking school in 3 months. Uh, I did it in 4 weeks. Yeah. And I used I cashed out my 401k, which was stupid, right? Because I lost half of it uh, just from cashing it out when I quit for the penalties and whatever. But I
Yep.
used that money to live on while I got my CDL. I passed on the first try and had a job. I passed on Friday. I went to work on Monday and I got my first paycheck on my birthday.
Oh, wow. And so you got a
Yeah.
class A, right? You drive 18 wheelers.
Yeah. Yeah. The big boys.
Yep. Do you have any endorsements? Do you do hazmat or anything like that?
No, no, I ain't got time for that.
Mm, yeah. I had my
I don't
class
want to, I don't
B.
want to deal
Yeah.
with,
I had my class B
yeah.
a long time ago, but
Hmm.
I didn't renew it for a variety of reasons. But yeah. And so when we talked about it, you do mostly local runs now, but you do a little bit of over the road still. Is that right?
Right. I can go anywhere. We
Sure.
run all 48, Canada and Alaska. So I can get a load anywhere. So if there's like a friend I want to see or family, they worked with me when my dad was dying. I was able to be there for most of that time and like paid to get there. Um, but I put in my time of going anywhere they told me to. And now I'm like, guys, I want to stay in California. Like, leave
Yeah.
me out. So
And
I earned that.
do you own your own vehicle and contract with a company, or do
No,
you work for a company?
no, I don't want the headache. Used
Yeah,
to.
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to that. Like I've been in the grocery business for 30 years and I was a buyer for a while. So, and I ran the supply chain at CNS Wholesale, which is the largest grocery wholesaler in the country for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I actually have quite a bit of experience dealing with the trucking industry and transportation industry. That's why I'm asking all these questions, just because I'm curious.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Oh my God, I love it. I don't think we've touched on this yet, but I have a late diagnosed ADHD and autism. And like, it'd have been cool to know that a lot sooner, but whatever. But it explains a lot of my behavior. And I think trucking is the best of both worlds for that because I have like it's driving a truck, it's unloading the same thing because I haul Polaris ATVs, UTVs mostly.
Mm,
Um, and so I have to set up the ramps and drive them out and like that's all the same. So the autism half of my brain is like, cool, focus. I know what we're doing. This is fine. And the chaotic little crazy gremlin that is the ADHD of my brain is very happy because I never go to the same place the same day. Like it's always different where I'm
sure.
going. So it kind of like really keeps me pretty balanced, which is why I've been here for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So you found something you love, but that's not all you're doing. You actually have a couple of other
True.
things going on. Did you write your book or start your coaching business first?
I had the idea to write the book first, but I actually started coaching first. I started in 2020. I had thought I'll truck for a few years and I'll save up and I'll get an office. I'll be a coach. But 2020 happened, the plague shut everything down and everything, even court, like doctors,
Yes.
everything
Yes.
was online. And I was like, if you guys can do it, I can do it, right? So I was like, hey Google, how to start a business. And got it together, figured out my daughter actually helped me pick the name. So my coaching business is Shift with Bunny because I wanted to tie it in to trucking and like mindset change because that's what I coach toward. It's a lot of fun. Excuse me.
Nope, it's all good. Yeah, I love that. And so mindset, I love, like, we talk about mindset all the time on our podcast because from my perspective, it's the single biggest determinant of how your life winds up, because you're going to have good and bad
Yeah.
experiences. And you've covered some crazy experiences that you've gone through in your life, and you've refused to let them stop you, whether it was the caffeine or spite that kept you going, or whatever the combination of those two things were. And
Right.
mindset's so important. How do you coach mindset? What do you talk to your clients about as it relates to mindset?
Sure. Um, so I start out with helping them figure out why they're stuck where they are. And then we look at ways to reframe that. And so I do a lot of, um, I hear people say often, well, I have to do this and then I have to do that. And I was like, cool. Or you get to do it.
Mm,
It's like little things like that shift your perspective. And those motivational posters they put up in office hallways or whatever.
sure.
I, I saw one time that changed my life, and it has affected how I coach a lot. I love this stupid poster. I wish I had one. I should get one. Whenever I have a wall to put it on, I'll get one. Um, but the picture for us was upside down. Um, so it was like sky on the bottom and then ground on top. And it had a turtle on its back with its little legs down, right? Because it's from its perspective. And he
Hmm.
says, oh my God, I'm flying. And I saw that I died. I'm like, this is perspective. Like this is what it's about. So you just have to shift how you look at it, how you look at something to be able to adjust how you do it. And that is how you get the ball rolling to accomplish what you're working toward.
Yeah, well, and I love that you're able to draw off of all these experiences that you had in your life that shows, hey, it might not happen as fast as you want it to. It might not happen the way you think it's going to. It might not follow the path that you think it's going to. But if you keep putting in the work and keep trying, you can get to a good spot, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, occasionally it happens faster than you thought it was
Mm.
going to when you start actually taking the steps. And that could be really scary too. And that's fun to coach through. I love when that happens. But a
Yeah,
lot of a lot of people are afraid of success. And me too. Me too. And it's I don't know, it's fun to like bond with my clients about that. And I love learning from them. I don't think they knew they were going to do that when they sign up, but um, it's I just love it. I love doing it so much.
yeah. Where are most of your clients? Are they in the United States? Are they
Yeah.
international? Where do you find clients from?
But mostly the US. I've had one client in Canada so far. Uh, I'm open. If anybody anywhere else wants to be a client, reach out, let me know. And I'm learning Spanish, so hopefully I'll be able to coach there too
Yeah.
soon.
And for listeners that are interested, we'll have all the links to get in touch with Bunny in the show notes. So you don't have to go far. Just go to the show notes like we always do with all of our guests. We'll put links to all of her contact information so you can get in touch with her about coaching and her book. Let's talk about your book. What made you write the book?
Um, Life. I I wanted I I get these wild ideas for something that I need to do, and people ask me. A lot of my friends, especially, are like, "Why? Why do you need to do this? Like, What's your what's your reasoning? Like, I want to be an ultra marathon runner." And they're like, "Why?" Why do you need to do 100? You want to run 100 miles? Yeah, yeah, I do. Uh, because somebody else did it, so could I. I don't know. But I decided that I wanted to write a book. And then I had to decide what I would write a book on. And I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she was like, babe, write a book about your life. And I was like, no, 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 no. And she's like, okay, then write a book about how to not have your life. And I was like, I love you. And that was rude. But I took that to heart and I was thinking about it, like, how could I help others be able to figure out what their goals are? Because I struggled with that a lot. And then get to them like I do, because everything I set my mind to, I do it eventually, like it will happen. And I started like reflecting on all of the big changes in my life, the big moments that I was like, okay, I'm here. I need to be over there. How am I going to make this happen? And I looked for all of the like repetitive actions that I had taken for each of those moments. And I kind of figured out like a timeline, if you will, of ways of how to reach your goals, like how to figure out what they are and to reach them every time. If you just do these steps, you will get to your goal, period. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do these steps to write the book. And my goal was just to write the book. The fact that
Mm.
anyone has bought it, other than like my 6 friends that support me through anything, it blows my mind. And like every month, there's a couple. Like it's not a bestseller, that's fine. But like somebody new that I didn't even know existed on my book. I'm like, this is amazing. Talk to me. I would love to hear what you think about it, even if it's bad, whatever. But I I wanted to just get that thought out and see if I could write the book. And I did. I did it. It's awesome. Well, it's pretty good. But it's my first go, you know. But now I know what I'm doing. And there's another book coming.
Nice. Well, your first one's called Basket Case, right?
Basket Case, an argument for crazy.
For
Yeah.
crazy. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Because people tell you not to put all your eggs in one basket. Then I think you should.
well, there. I love this quote. It says, "Reasonable," and it says men, but it doesn't matter. You can say people. Reasonable people conform to fit in the world they live in. Unreasonable people demand that the world conform to fit them. Therefore, all progress is created by unreasonable people. And it's kind of an extreme statement, but it's really true when you think about it. It's people that refuse to accept the way things are and say, no, I'm not going to accept that this is the way things are. And you could have done that so many. I mean, hell, you talked about you were raised to be like a Southern debutante, right? That's be
Yeah.
pretty, shut up, do what you're told, be there for your
Prepare for
husband.
experiment. Yep.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, nah, not my thing. I'm not doing that.
Yep.
You kind of continued that pattern through your whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. I plan on continuing it. I have no plans to become reasonable.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So what's your book contains your life experiences.
Mhm.
Basket Case, an argument for crazy. Um, but what's your next book about? What are you writing about this time?
So Basket Case is like really utilitarian. There's a few stories like where I relate life experience to how to do it, but it's mostly how to find you and how to do the thing. And so my next book, keeping with the theme, is going to be titled Off the Deep End. And uh, it's more of my stories and how they reflect to making shit happen.
Nice. I love that. When do you think you'll have it done?
Uh, if I follow my schedule, November.
Oh my goodness. You're really cranking away at it.
Yeah, it won't be ready to publish probably until January, but I should have it finished the writing part by November, mid-November.
Wow. That's awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
so Bunny, one of the things I like to do, we cover a lot of territory when we bring people on. That's why it takes a long time to have the conversations. We really
Right.
appreciate people coming on and being genuine and really telling their story unfiltered. And I really appreciate and very grateful that you were willing to do that with us. And I feel like I ask a lot of good questions and et cetera, et cetera. However, I'm certainly not perfect. I always say I don't live in a glass house, or I don't throw stones because I live in a glass house. And so I don't want to miss out on something simply because I didn't ask the right questions or good questions, or I just missed something. So, is there anything that I haven't asked you about or any topics we haven't covered yet that you feel strongly about that we should talk about while we're in front of the audience?
Sure. That's a great attitude to have, by the way. I appreciate that.
Mm.
You did ask, and I think we got distracted by a different part of the question. Um, but there's a story that I wanted to share that I've been thinking about like this whole past week. That is when I learned that taking responsibility for yourself is how you can make like real progress, and how to be like content with yourself.
Mm.
Um, so when I was, gosh, I think I was 19, maybe 20. It was the summer I turned 20. I was riding in I had a, what was it called? It was a Dodge Raider or something that I was driving for a few months till it died. Um, it was kind of like a Isuzu on shrink-it paper. And I, I had two girlfriends with me. It was two-door, one in the front, one in the middle, and the back. And with the windows open, music blaring, we're in Branson going down the strip. This is when it was very popular. So we're going like 3 miles an hour, maybe. We're just
Mm.
having a good time. It's like Friday night. My daughter had gone to her grandparents for the weekend. I was like, let's let loose, right? So uh we're just having a good time. And I hear the strip is one lane each way and a turning lane in the middle. And I hear this like metal grinding sound next to me. I'm like, what was that? Like, I just like curious, right? And so I look over and it's a beautiful Thunderbird. It's got like the airbrushed Thunderbird on the hood and it's very
Oh
pretty.
yeah.
It had the top off. And the person driving was gorgeous as well. Big curly blonde hair, beautiful woman. And she had grind the gears. It was like she was driving her boyfriend's car and didn't know how to shift, right? You know? And uh, I I just looked when the sound was made because I wanted to know what the sound was. I looked over, I see this. She looks at me, and I know that it was because she was embarrassed, but she just looks at me and screams, "Fuck you!" And I don't know where it came from, but I said, "Bless you." That was it. My and then like traffic moved and we parted. And my two friends that were with me, we were a rowdy bunch. Uh, we got in fights occasionally. Um, and they were like, "Let's go, let's get her," you know. And I'm like, "No, no, it's fine. Like how I behave is how I behave." And it like just hit me like a ton of bricks that I don't have to answer to every name that somebody calls me, right? I don't have to show up for every fight. I can let things go. It was a novel concept to me at the time, but that, I wrote about her, and if she ever sees this, like I so hope that she's well. Um, and I have grind the gears multiple times in many cars, so don't feel bad. Most people can't even drive a stick now, so.
That's what I was going to
But
say. For the younger listeners, you used to actually have to manually shift a lot of cars. It's a foreign
yeah,
concept to you, but
right. Um, so I'm just so grateful to her, and she has no idea. But that moment really changed my life, and that moment is why I'm a coach, honestly.
because it shows, hey, I'm in control of my reaction to my circumstances. I can choose to be one way or I can choose to be another, but
Exactly.
I can't abdicate that responsibility to someone else. That responsibility rests solely with me, and I'm going to accept that responsibility and take control of the things I have control over.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love
And it
that. What
was
a great.
really, really like a weight lifted too, that I wasn't angry. Anger is a very heavy emotion to carry, and I had a lot of it in my youth.
Mm.
Um, I had a lot of reasons to have it, but learning that I could let that go and I didn't have to be mad at everything, that was so powerful.
And the thing about letting it go is you're not doing that for the other person. You're doing it for yourself. It's got nothing to do with the other person. I think so many people get hung up on that. They want, like, I love you. I run on caffeine and spite. Like they want the other, like one of my favorite sayings is holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die. Right. I mean,
I was going to say that. Yeah,
it's the perfect analogy for that situation because you're holding all of this venom inside and it's impacting you, not them. Not
exactly.
them. Most people don't give a shit about you. Even the ones you think
Yeah,
give a shit about you, they don't give a shit about you. So you've got to give a shit about you, and you can give yourself that freedom to say, I don't have to react to this. I don't care. I don't care. You make your whatever. Good for you.
right.
Congratulations. I wish you the best.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm gonna do my best. Hope you do your best. We don't have to do it together. That's cool. But you know,
Totally. Totally. Well, Bunny, thank you so much for coming on the
thank
podcast. You just
you.
did an awesome job. I knew your story was going to be compelling. I knew you would share those things in a way that is very relatable and would resonate with our audience. And you did not disappoint. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to make some time with us.
Thank you. It was so much fun, and I'm honored to be on your show. Thank you.
Well, we loved having you. It was an awesome conversation, and it's going to be great. And for our listeners, make sure you go down if you're looking for a coach. Like, talk about someone that's got a lot of life experience that can help you work on your mindset, like we always talk about here. And again, you've heard my shameless plug for coaching, but here it is again. And I'm not a coach. I don't have a coaching business. This isn't. I don't get anything from it. Bunny's not kicking me something back, but Tom Brady was widely regarded as the best quarterback ever to play professional football. At every stage of his career, he had a head coach, he had an offensive coordinator, he had a quarterbacks coach, he had a running backs coach, he had a wide receiver coach, he had an offensive line coach. If you're better at your particular life or function than Tom Brady was at being a professional quarterback, congratulations. Good for you. If you're not, which is almost all of us, why not find a third party who can help you? And what better option do you have than someone like Bunny who can pull from all of these experiences? Because she's not talking about stuff she hasn't done or experienced herself. So we would highly encourage you, if you're in the market or if you're thinking about something, why not reach out and have a conversation? Could do a lot worse than having Bunny on your side helping you work on your mindset. So
Can I jump into real quick, Joe?
fire away. You bet.
I also practice what I preach. I have a coach too. So
Love that. Absolutely love it. Yes. What a great thing. Well, Bunny, thank you again. Really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
program.
you. Thank you. I
Yep.
appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Have a great week.
You too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
All right, guys. So Bunny over delivered, even though we built her up so much in our intro. What a great conversation and what an amazing job she's done with just difficult circumstance after difficult circumstance after difficult circumstance. And we talk a lot on the podcast about taking action, about taking control of the things you have control over, and that bad things are going to happen to you, but you choose how to react to those. Bunny's story is like case study number one for all of the things we talk about. And what a neat lady. What a great job she did talking about those things. Love that she's helping other people uh, learn what she learned and think, change their mindset the way she's been able to change her mindset. And just really appreciate her coming on the podcast and sharing all those experiences with us. And again, if you want to get in touch with her, right down there in the show notes, just check down there for the link to get in touch with Bunny. You can find the link to her book down there as well. And just really appreciate her coming on the podcast. So James puts it up over here every day. Don't forget to head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All our podcast episodes are available there. Links to all our social media accounts are there. We publish a newsletter every weekday that you can subscribe to on our website. And we really love it if you could like, share, comment, subscribe to the podcast, whatever platform you consume it on. That's great for us if you're able to do it. You don't want to miss all the awesome guests that we bring on that talk about the things they've learned from the challenges in their life and how they've built awesome and successful lives because of those experiences, what they've learned from it. It's going to be super helpful for you in building the life that you want. So make sure you don't miss our next episode. We will see you there.